Formula One caps off its triple header at the historic and prestigious Silverstone Circuit in Great Britain this weekend. The track hosted its first Grand Prix in 1950. The total length of the track is 5.891 kilometers, and the race will hold 52 laps total. The total race distance is 306.198 kilometers, and it has 2 DRS zones. It is a larger circuit and has a total of 18 turns. This track is iconic amongst Formula One fans as it has offered some of the most epic races throughout its history. Silverstone is renowned for its combination of high-speed corners and technical sections. It also has 2 long straights that allow cars to reach blistering speeds and offer great overtaking opportunities. 7 of the 10 teams are based in this location, and it is the home race for 3 of the current drivers: Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, and Lando Norris. All 3 have seemed to have found their footing by this stage in the season. Will any of them get a victory? Hey yo, Chris here, and thanks for tuning into the Delta. We are headed to Silverstone this weekend, and I'm super excited based off of what occurred in Austria last week. Before we get started in our prediction video, like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot, helps the channel out a lot, and I think we've been slowly growing at a rate at which that I am satisfied, but there's always room for more growth, and with your help, we can do it. Now let's get on to the video. So the first thing I like to do is I like to talk about like upgrades or any relevant news that occurred, from the last race to the timing of this video. Thus far, I got McLaren as the only team that has posted anything or said anything about the upgrades. I wouldn't say it's much of an upgrade as much as an evolution of a previous upgrade, but McLaren's front wing has been getting adjusted since Miami. And again, I'm no engineer, so from what I understand, McLaren has been adjusting their front wing end plate. I guess the problem that teams face with the regulations of the front wing geometries is that oversteer occurs at high speed, understeer occurs at low speed, and it is greatly exaggerated given the rules and regulations. And it's a thing that teams have just been struggling to balance throughout the season. But it looks like McLaren has slowly been cracking the code, and it is believed to be the secret sauce they have been using to allow them to keep pace with the Red Bull. Then I like to talk about the weather. So as of right now, the weather looks like a comfortable mid-60s and only rain in the forecast for Friday. It is the UK though, rain is always possible there, but I don't think that we're going to see the intermediates except for Friday, but anything can change from now until then. Now, let's get into those predictions, and we'll start with the biggest loser, and I got Aston Martin. It is just too easy to constantly pick Logan Sargent or Williams or Kick or Zhao Guanyu or somebody like that it's not really exciting to pick those teams. And before Aston Martin reaches that category where it's just going to be easy to pick them, I think I'm going to go with them again, or go with them this time. And while they are still in the midfield part of the point section on the constructors' standings, they just haven't shown up for like 3+ races. Fernando Alonso has been absolutely dreadful, and Stroll is barely getting into the P11, P12 range. Yeah, he occasionally falls into the P9, but most of the time he's not performing well either. I think here in this long circuit, you are really going to see a gap between them and whatever driver or team is in front of them. So they will still probably finish better than Williams or Kick, let's say, but I wouldn't be surprised if their interval behind the team or car in front is going to be something like 20-30 seconds. Now we're moving on to exceptional performance, and I got Charles Leclerc. He's been quite unfortunate lately, hasn't he? Whether it's been a poor performance there in Canada, or not making the line for his final lap there in qualifying in Austria, to just getting the wing busted there in the first turn of the GP. If there was an issue, Charles Leclerc's name has typically been attached to it. Since his victory there in Monaco, the results have just been non-existent, and it's not all his fault. Ferrari has taken a step back since then. For instance, since Monaco, Mercedes has scored 100 points, McLaren 84 points, Red Bull 79, and Ferrari just 39 points. The upgrades just don't seem to be helping them, and at this point, I would argue that they may have just been downgrades. But it is Charles, and while he's not my favorite of the two Ferrari drivers, I acknowledge the fact that he's still unbelievably talented and skilled, and for this particular race, at bare minimum, I think everything just pans out for him. And while I can't predict a race win or even a podium, if he can just reach top 5, that would be more than enough than an exceptional performance, given the recent history. I really just can't believe at one point I thought Drivers' Championship was on with Charles Leclerc. Now we'll move on to the biggest disappointment. And again, this is one of those categories where like the pecking order has been pretty well decided. So again, it's real easy to pick on your typical people like RB or Perez and stuff like that. So I'm going to go out on a limb again for this prediction, and I'm going to go Esteban Ocon. And he's just not been the better driver of the two Alpines. He is making very boneheaded decisions and pushing his teammate off the track, continuing these battles with Gasly, and ultimately, he's the one that's losing out on him. For instance, Monaco. For some reason, he wants to pass Gasly there right after the hairpin. Crashes. He's DNF'd. Last week, racing there in Austria. Super exciting, super entertaining, completely unnecessary. Runs Gasly off the road to ultimately just later get passed by Gasly anyway. So maybe this bites me in the butt because I still do think Ocon is a decent race car driver. He's just not making any smart decisions. And at this point here in Silverstone, Alpine has also been clearly just done with him. And Gasly has no love lost for him. And despite Alpine being better over the recent races, it's still an Alpine, and Ocon really can't be taking dumb risks that he is. So Ocon will go out there on Sunday, and I expect something to occur that either takes him out or even a teammate out, or at bare minimum, put himself in a bad position where his team won't be willing to help him get out of it. Moving on to the shocker pick. I'm not going to go with a particular driver or team this week. I'm going to go with a thought process of maybe we see some early chaos or something there early and throughout the race. And I'm going to go with 5 or more DNFs. We haven't really seen many DNFs, have we? I think cars are just too reliable and drivers are just too good. But we don't have to go too far back to see that in 2021, Silverstone saw 6 DNFs. And I think it would be pretty crazy to see a bunch of drivers get knocked out throughout the race and open up some slots for some other drivers to steal some points. Now we'll go on to pole position. I got Max Verstappen. Max is angry. I think he feels that he is the driver that lost out, despite Lando Norris actually being the one that DNF'd. I don't necessarily think that he believes that he did anything wrong, warranting the penalty he got. Debate for a whole other time, not for this time. But he did get the penalty, and he did end up losing the race. And I think he's going to come in fast, hard, aggressive, and angry. And it's going to show there in qualifying. I think the car is going to be souped up and ready for him to go. I think the only other team that can be close to him is McLaren. And of McLaren, only Lando is capable of pressing Max in that way. I just think Max is going to do better in qualifying, and he's going to land on the pole spot for the feature race. Now we'll go on to the podium predictions, and we'll just go make it simple. P2, P3, it's going to be Russell and Hamilton. Either order. I personally think Russell's going to come in third, Hamilton in second, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's flip-flopped either. They're just doing great. They're doing all the right things. I think that's always one of the things that makes a team or a driver particularly good is their consistency. I think that's why I like Carlos Sainz so much, is while he's not a Max Verstappen or even a Charles Leclerc, he's just consistent. He goes out there, does his job, races hard, pushes when he has to push, lays off when he has to lay off, makes very minimal mistakes, and I think that's where Mercedes as a whole is sitting. I think George and Hamilton are doing what the car allows them to do, and now the car has been upgraded to the point where it's competitive. And if you take a look like Austria last week, it rewarded them with a victory. Again, it was gifted in the sense that that incident occurred, but George Russell qualified well, George Russell raced well, he managed the car, managed the tires, listened to instructions, did all the things that you're supposed to do as a race car driver, and when chaos ensued, he became the victor. Now, I don't necessarily believe that Mercedes has the cars constructed to the point where they can just outright win this race. Won't say it would be shocking if they won their home track, but I just don't think it's going to be. I can't predict it. I can't put my name behind that prediction. So yeah, I think I got Russell P3, Hamilton P2, and Mercedes is going to have a great time there in Silverstone. And that leaves the winner. And I have Lando or Verstappen. I will pick one. But first, let me explain. Upon doing some research, I saw some interesting stats. Double check me if I'm incorrect. But from what I saw, pole sitter has only won 3 of the last 7 races and has only won 10 times since 1995. Now, that's historical data. I don't really like to base a lot of decisions on historical data because things that occurred in 2007 are not the same things that are currently happening today. But that is very, very interesting. Especially the whole 1995 thing. That's a lot of years. I mean, we're talking, what, 30 years and only 10 times the pole sitter has gotten the victory? Actually, I'm going to double check that. I don't know if that's right. All right, yeah. So, upon further research, we have pole position 1, only 3 of the last 7 Silverstone races, 10 wins since 1995, 19 podiums in the last 24, and 2 DNFs since 2001. That is your pole interesting facts section, impromptu. I'll post the link in the description, obviously. Please correct me if that's wrong, but that's just a quick little Google search. But anyway, with that knowledge, I think I'm going to go with Lando. He too is also from the UK, and I think he wants it. I think, much as Verstappen believes that he was in no wrong and had the race win taken from him, Lando feels even more angry and upset about it. I think Lando is going to come in. He's going to race his hardest during quali, get that P2, and I'd be willing to bet that he's going to press Verstappen the entire time. I believe that Verstappen will win off the launch. It seems like Lando seems to struggle off the launch. But I think McLaren's going to have a plan in place, given that situation, and where Lando can steal the victory from Max. I hope I'm actually really right, because this would make the race so exciting to constantly just have, like, for entire 52 laps, Lando Norris just 5 seconds or less off of Verstappen. And one good pit stop, one bad mistake by Verstappen. I mean, we can end up with another Austrian Grand Prix scenario. But yeah, I think Lando winning the race is going to be my prediction. It's kind of a bold prediction, kind of not. I don't know. Fingers are crossed because I'm guessing, but I'm not guessing because I feel confident in it. It's a tough one. I'm in a tough spot. But yeah, Lando Norris, winner at Silverstone. And that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it if you stuck all the way through. Like and subscribe again, because like I said, I do the Voodoo Wheel now separate to this video, and the Voodoo Wheel is always fun. I think it lost again. That's 2 losses in a row for it. It landed on Alpine. I think Alpine did well enough not to consider it a voodoo spell debacle, but it's still fun to do the Voodoo Wheel. And if you like and subscribe, and maybe even click that notification bell, you'll be notified to know when I put out the Voodoo Wheel video, and we'll see who casts its evil spell on this week. But until next time, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Bye, everybody.